bit. This is a project in Singapore, and I think it's interesting to talk about it. Before I want to talk about it, if you're a fintech or you're interested in doing something, I want to talk a little bit about a major phenomenon in the financial world. It's called financial inclusion. And financial inclusion basically is about people that don't have access to financial services. Mostly because those people living at very small economical footprints, poor people, or people that have very small economic activity, or people that are disadvantaged in society. A lot of women have no access to financial services in many countries. But this is a major phenomenon that is there. And I wanted to kind of say why does that matter? And I think worldwide there is about 1.7 billion people roughly identified as being left out of the system. Most of those people, I think about 60% is in Asia. About 1 billion people in Asia, if we include China and India, are outside of the financial industry. Now, why is this important? Is if you're into fintech or whatever, this is a huge opportunity. This is a growth story. If you're going to do fintech in Europe or the US or Japan, there is no growth story in these countries. The populations are shrinking. So it's all about efficiency and maybe some disruption or shifts, but it's not growing. If things are growing, you create new ways of technology, innovation, etc. So financial inclusion creates a huge opportunity for fintech to show what it can do, and that is what is interesting. And if this chart kind of, again there is Facebook in there, but it's kind of an indicator, how much, what is the, if you look at some countries, there's more Facebook accounts than bank accounts, all right? So that goes back to the Libra law, right? So this is not academic. And what's also interesting is I think the next slide is kind of an eye chart, we'll go to later. But things that play in these countries is that if you look at the opportunities, right, so there's about $6 trillion US dollars of income coming in out of these areas. These are people with, of course, small amounts of money, etc. But most of these people are kind of one-man or two-man super small SMEs. People that sell something along the road or starting to start a small business, a taxi driver or whatever. All of these are small, very small, tiny little business organizations that are off the charts, but they work all on cash and they have cash flow and all these things are there, but there's no data on these people. Banks are looking at cost reduction. Cost reduction is important. If you're a bank in Asia and you want to do financial inclusion, the problem for most banks in Asia is that their costs are too high to address the large part of the market. Most of these banks were created to serve the high end of the market in the countries where they could be profitable because the infrastructure was too expensive. Most of these banks come out of the mainframe area, and I remember people that were running large banks elsewhere and came back home and started to do similar type of banking institutions. So those institutions were not designed to deliver a loan product where we issuing a loan between $10 to $100. They were built to do mortgages maybe of $10,000 to $50,000 in those countries. So banks have to reduce their costs and their footprint and their delivery mechanisms to start tapping into that. So banks have a challenge there because, like we were talking about, it's very hard to change things once you have them. So if you look at as an example here in Europe, how digital disruptors are disrupting banks is quite significant. There's a lot of opportunity. If you look at, I'm quite sure you're familiar with the Grab story in Asia. So Grab started as a Uber lookalike, but Grab now offers financial services through the taxi drivers, the whole financial system around it. It starts to build a financial ecosystem. So financial inclusion is not necessarily something that will be solved by banks. It can be solved by companies like Grab or other companies that are literally on the ground working with people in the street. There is a huge opportunity to improve services. Even people that have access to a bank account doesn't mean they have access to credit. And credit is the big deal. If you're a small SME in Asia, the big thing that will propel you is to get a loan so you can buy equipment. The next thing will be things above that, like insurance, etc. that will later into the life cycle of financial services. So there's a lot of opportunities that are evolving. And as I mentioned, SME is a big theme in that. This is kind of a chart, 44% of all the unbanked people are in India. If you look at Asia, this kind of breaks it up by country. Of course, India and China are so large, they kind of dwarf some of the other countries on the right side. but the amount of people involved is not very small. I sometimes ask people, do you know how many people are living in Pakistan? And those people say, no, it's 200 million people these days, right? Indonesia is 300 million. These countries are very large, there's a lot of people that don't have access. But if you go and look at the access to cellular phones versus banks, in a lot of the developing countries, the access to mobile services is way ahead of the access to banking services. And it kind of shows the opportunity gap, right? And why it is so is because most of these banking services are regulated, so only banks can do those services, and those banks are not designed to serve these people, so it's not moving forward. All right? Now, if you're already in these countries, you also know that the more people are banked, there's also the GDP will go automatically. So there is, I would say, good incentive for all these countries to move upward. But there's what the challenge and opportunity. So what I wanted to, let me see. What I wanted to share with you today is, I'm not sure, is there, do you know if the audio will work on this thing or? No? Let's forget it. Let's not do the video. I'll just talk. Okay. Alright. So, let me see. Okay. So, just give me a second. I'm switching phone. Okay. Just give me a second. It's white. That's good. Okay, so what is the problem? Why is this financial inclusion not happening faster? And it's kind of interesting. There are various drivers, but there's one interesting problem. Is that actually we talked about all this wonderful FinTech. We talked about FinTechs in Japan, US, and there's a lot of FinTech companies, a lot of great ideas out there. There are a lot of banks in Asia. There's about 600 regulated banks in Asia, outside of China and Japan. So a lot of banks, a lot of FinTech. But all these banks are not being serviced by these fintechs. So the fintechs find really, there's kind of a gap. The fintechs are not able to find the banks, and the banks are not able to find the fintechs. And anybody here runs a fintech? Anybody try to sell anything to a bank? Anyone successful working something? No? Is it difficult? Yeah, so I was always on the buy side. I was one technology, and I did it always very differently. I had a methodology to buy really fast, but the typical buying cycle of bank is very, very, very slow. So what happens with fintechs? So if you're a fintech, you will have some venture capital money that's just going to run out in 6 to 12 months. Okay, and then you want to try to sell to a bank. But what happens with fintech is really, it will look like this. The end of all of this is that the fintech will not make it, and ends up in the emergency room where it is going to go bankrupt or not. And the reason this happens is if you sell to a bank, the sales cycles are so long that fintechs are kind of incentivized to go for the largest bank they can sell to. If the effort is equal between a small bank and a big bank, you'll try to sell to the bigger bank. It also gets you better bragging rights for your investors. So a lot of fintechs tend to sell to bigger institutions and not to smaller institutions. The smaller institutions are not targeted by fintechs. Smaller institutions typically don't have the know-how and money, etc., to figure out how to innovate. So what is happening in Asia is that a lot of all this beautiful stuff is not happening, and that is kind of rare. So if you are a fintech, and if the typical fintech in Asia, over one period of time, 50% of them will have not had more than 8 banks in 80 customers per year. It's a very small amount if you think about marketing. So the capacity they have is very limited. They can only reach a few banks in a year. So, and then the end result is that most of them will not buy anything. If you want to do proof of concept, which is just a trial, the average number of meetings you need to go through before you can do your trial is 15 meetings. So, it's very, very exhausting. The time it takes to do those 50 meetings is between half a year to a year, right? Okay? And out of those meetings, only 1 out of 10 of those attempts results in actually a customer interaction. All right, so now we're talking about the odds of you selling your thing. It's actually really low. right? So, and that's really a big problem. And there's various reasons for it. Let me see, this is, okay. And then it takes, another 2 to 6 months to get the IT department to buy in on top of it. Okay, most of these proof of concepts take more than a year to happen, so it takes a long time. So if you understand it takes a year to get a POC, it takes a year to do a POC. So before you're going to see any revenues 2 years down the road, some banks pay for POCs, but most don't. And so it's not making any progress. As 25% will pay for POC, so most of it is your cost, which is your investment. So it's not a really good thing. You can get okay, so up to 18 months between the first meeting to POs for production. So it's very slow. It takes very long of time. I meet people where it goes up to 3 years as a selling cycle as a fintech. It's ridiculous. So why is that so? As I mentioned, banks have their own rules and regulations to buy stuff. And unfortunately, a lot of the thinking came out of the old days. So it's very much a waterfall type of thinking, where budgets are approved. A lot of banks have outsourced in Asia, a lot of banks have outsourced their things. So the technology departments are small. They do not have the best CIOs and CTOs on the planet. And they find it hard to figure out what to do. We did a survey in Cambodia, where we had, I think, 50 fintechs in the room and 10 banks. And we asked them we asked how banks find fintechs. And more than 50% of the banks answers we Google. Okay, now I can tell you if you want to find a fintech, Google is not going to give you a fintech, it'll give you some sponsored content in first few pages. That's about it. They're not going to find you anything. So it's very hard to stand out and for those banks to find things they're interested in. Another big problem has to do with trust. If you're the bank and you want to, let's say you're a small fintech and I'm going to buy your stuff, I may be excited about it, but the management of the bank says, what if that small company fails? You only have 20 employees, what do we do? The risk we're running the servers that the regulators will go publishers and it goes down. So what is our governance? The governance is the magic word, we'll make sure nothing ever happens. Okay? If you want to get anything done in a company, don't talk to the compliance division or whatever. Because they'll find a reason why we should not do this, or this regulation. The regulations may be okay, but do we really want to do this? And in Japan also very much so. Lots of compliance departments think they understand the regulations, but they make back the regulations because it's much easier not to do something than to do something. Don't take a risk, avoid failure, right? So for a lot of these banks, they run into this some kind of half self-imagined regulatory problem. It's real. It means that they're not ready to go with a small fintech. And the problem is, what happens if the fintech fails? They don't have a backup. How do we do that? For fintechs, the other way around is I will explain. A lot of fintechs find it very hard to sell. So they will try to go for a bigger opportunity than a smaller bank. So a lot of fintechs are not spending their marketing dollars going to Cambodia or to Myanmar or to Thailand or whatever. They go to the US, where there is more money to be made. So this is kind of a vicious circle, and there's a few other drivers that actually is kind of make this not really happen. So what happened is in Singapore, I'm not sure if some of you may be familiar with the big FinTech drive in Singapore. About 4 years ago, Singapore appointed a person as a chief FinTech officer. And the person was appointed to work outside of the regulator's office. So this is interesting. Because why would you do that out of the regulator's office? The reason was very simple, because lots of banks in Singapore were using regulations as an excuse not to innovate. So they said, okay, so we're going to tell you that the regulations are not the problem, you are the problem. So literally, and that's what they did. So they set up the innovation office out of the regulator's office. Phenomenal idea. And things started to move. He also started to rewrite a chunk of the regulations around cloud computing and other things. He started to unify the payment system in Singapore. It is top-down driven, it actually works. So a lot of these things started to happen. But also, as you know, Singapore is a very small nation. He started to attract a lot of fintechs. So in Singapore, there's a lot of fintech centers, a lot of activities there. It's all great. But there was also an idea, how can we tie ASEAN together? all the Asian countries around Singapore. So this financial inclusion problem and this problem of banks not innovating is actually a big problem for fintechs in Singapore. They want to go to all the other countries, but they run into these invisible barriers. So then what happened is the regulators in Singapore, this chief fintech officer, plus the World Bank IFC, which had a big goal around financial inclusion, and the ASEAN Bankers Association, it's kind of the same in Japan Bankers Association, they got together and they created a project where they said, we're going to create something that takes away this inertia between fintechs and banks, and that is the goal of the project. And the idea to solve that puzzle is to create kind of we call it a common sandbox, where all the countries that are participating can work together to find fintechs, and fintechs to find banks. And the problem I described earlier, if you were the small little fintech, interestingly enough, there's a lot of fintechs doing more or less the same thing. This is really good because there has to be competition, but also means there's redundancy in the market. If you know that you're buying something that you can get from another vendor, maybe for a slightly different price or a little bit different color, then your risk profile goes down. So if you have 3 vendors offering the same thing, then I can select this small fintech, but I can tell my boss to say, well, if that fails, we go for the other one. And the boss says, how can you do that? It will take a lot of integration work. No, we're using APIs, so we just have to flip the API. Also, management will not understand what that means, but you can explain it. And what it means is the whole platform is built around open published APIs that the fintechs publish and the banks can consume. So once you do that, you can start to build trial applications. And the whole idea is to get banks to do that. Once they realize that, oh wow, this is so much easier than I thought it was. Also, there's no culture negotiation, no POC. The POC is immediate. So this is what this chart talks about. Is all these processes that today stop all of this. Google search or the proof of concept of RFPs. All these things are designed not to work. They're taken out of that because you can immediately start building stuff and you don't have to worry about it. And because it is a trusted environment where a lot of checks already have been done around the fintechs, it's a curated marketplace. So similar like a stock exchange, not everybody can list. There's an existence check of the company, if other things are done. That creates kind of a trusted environment. But also, if you know that a lot of other banks are doing the same thing, it becomes a different thing. Oh, wait a minute, why are we not doing that? And if they can do it, why can't we do that in Myanmar if they can do it in Cambodia? So it creates a kind of a joint feeling. Otherwise, you wouldn't know what your peers are doing. And it's very interesting. In Japan, I'm always very surprised how little people know what their peers are doing. And once you know what your peers are doing, your kind of courage goes up a little. Oh, they're doing it. Okay, we can do it. So the marketplace that we came up with is to basically banks and fintechs can work together. Banks can browse for fintechs like there's a supermarket. They can try out things very easily. There's a lot of help to have them do it, to know how to do it. And the purchasing happens outside of the marketplace. The marketplace is run as a non-profit. Fintechs and banks that finally tie up, they can do their own commercials outside of the marketplace. So nobody's going to lose any margin, and that kind of keeps things very straight as well. So we built this marketplace, and okay, so this is a little bit of a technical thing, but the key thing is that it has a sandbox environment, it has a fully functional API gateway, it has some other pieces that make it easy to test. And with these technical components, fintechs can list their APIs, banks can come in, they can download the APIs, they immediately can start consuming those APIs and build applications with it. Third-party developers can come in and help out in this process as well. And that's kind of really the source there. The technology that we're using in this project is all reused. So I talked about reuse earlier. We're not using anything really new. It is just assembling it in a different way, but we're using latest cloud technology, whatever. But mostly open source projects stitched together. So through that, the so-called APIX platform was called APIX, it stands for API Exchange, was born. And the way it works is that if you're a fintech or a bank, you can register online. You can set up a profile. Profile is important. Profile builds trust for banks if they know a little bit more about you. So we encourage fintechs to provide more information. Any global fintech, any fintech in Japan or anywhere else in the world is welcome to register on the platform. And for banks, we're focusing on Asian banks at the moment only. So it's kind of restricted to Asia at the moment, because that's where we want to create impact in the space. So once you have done it, you don't use Google anymore. You have a much more focused search. There's much more, you can compare. You can find things that work in your market space or not. Some fintechs only will provide something for a specific market, so it's being filtered out and stuff like that. So it creates a more intelligent search. So this is what happens. So that fintechs can, by the way, can restrict the access to their APIs. So it's not if you publish your APIs, anybody can see your API. You can only publish it to a specific bank if you want to. So you don't necessarily have to give all your secrets away. So some server are built in for that. But the key thing is this kind of cuts out this whole procurement problem. Okay, so if you're in a bank and you want to buy something, if it is $1 million, you have to go through all the approvals. Here there's none of that because you can start building right away. There's no real investment decision until you decide which is the best. But it takes also the whole problem away of how do we find the best vendor. Don't forget that a lot of cases why things fail after a POC is that it's still kind of, it's still this kind of playing around, you're not really engaging. Or if you buy things without a POC, if you're just trying to evaluate technology with a spreadsheet, it's still, in many cases, is the most common way people make a list of check marks and you make a point score and it looks really scientific. It's all bullshit. It doesn't really work that way. Because once you actually engage with that vendor, and then you find, oh my God, these guys are not organized. They don't respond to their emails or whatever. You'll find out very quickly if you work in the sandbox environment with a fintech, if they're responsive or if they're well organized and know their things. So that's a very important piece of information that you will not get out of a spreadsheet or talking to the sales guy. The sales guy might be fantastic or sales woman might be fantastic, but when the actual programmers walk in, they may not be so great. So by actually using stuff, you'll get a much better assessment of the technology than you ever would get through a sales cycle. So there's that. So that cuts a lot of the procurement problems. Building prototypes, it's a little bit technical, but the way the platform is organized, it allows you to log in. And from the login, you can launch your AWS development environment directly, kind of linked under it, or Azure, or Google, doesn't matter. And once you're in there, all the APIs that you have subscribed will be in your IDE development environment. You can start building from there. We want to, the fintech knows that their APIs are being consumed. There's a counter on that. So people also kind of see what's popular and what is being well used or not being well used. And so you can then start to experiment on the secure sandbox. Another important thing is if you work with a bank, if you want to have the bank access your server, then all the firewall settings have to be configured for your server, which can take months if you're not lucky, right? Oh no, we're doing a system migration right now. We don't have time to change that thing. That takes 2 minutes. Very typical because that request goes into the IT department. So the way it works here is that once the bank has connected once to the platform, all traffic is routed through a single connection on APIX. So all the fintechs can be all over the world, but we basically route that from our server. The bank doesn't have to worry about that traffic. So simplifies a huge, simple logistical problem that otherwise would basically not allow this to happen. So then, the final step is, that once something is working, it's very easy. You know it works. You know these people are responsive. You can then go into commercials and start building stuff. So the cycle of this can be literally days or weeks instead of years. And that is really the focus of the platform. So the hope of the initiative is to change that attitude and mindset over time. Build trust between fintechs and banks that there is a way to do this. The trust is built out of the fact that there's a created space. There's not random fintechs. There's trust inherently because people are working together and validating each other's experiences. And that's the power of a platform ecosystem. So the pipe we talked about can be dramatically collapsed. And I know it's getting late, but for the techies amongst us, there's a few other interesting things that were built in the platform. There is a synthetic database built in that uses some flavor of AI to mimic data sets. So if you want to test against the back end of a bank, you get real good test data to work with. There's also technology built in to integrate with the bank later on that can simulate popular packages that some of these banks have, so you can build an end-to-end experience without having to integrate it for real with the bank on day one, so that solves another major problem. And then you can see there's an IDE says it works through GitHub or Bitbucket or whatever. It's kind of it. So I'm going to go very quickly. You can go to this platform and you can see it yourself, but this is when you log in, it shows specific fintechs that are trending or popular or new on the platform. There is a problem statement catalog, so banks can post their problem statements and fintechs can respond to that. So if they want to, trying to look for a solution to do X, Y, Z, then fintechs that are logging in can immediately chip in and see if they can solve the problem. There is a business process catalog. This is kind of an assembly of fintech solutions. So if you want to do a micro lending solution, we show how you can build a micro lending process, and then you can select the fintechs for it. So there's kind of some process know-how. It's actually very useful because most use cases are not fulfilled by a single fintech. You typically will have to integrate a bunch of things together. This is the sandbox. So this is once you go into the sandbox and you log in, then the next step is this is what I can't show, but the step after this, you basically go into your preferred development environment and you can start working from there. This is how you can find banks. So this is kind of So I want to go to all the details of this. So the APIX platform, and this is I think why it's interesting to share that with you, is if you are based here in Japan and you want to reach out to Asia as a market, you can do it the traditional way, which is opening a representative office and everything and fly around and spend 2 years talking to each bank. Or you can be on this platform and basically become present and only engage when there is interest in your API and dramatically cut out all the unnecessary long discussions, etc. So if you're interested and you want to participate in the platform, you should just go to the website and contact the APIX organization, and they will guide you further on that. If you're a bank in Japan, I'm very sorry it's not available for banks in Japan yet, but but we hope to extend the platform to Africa in the not too far future as well. There's a tremendous, huge opportunity there as well, and a lot of interest in solving the same problem there as well. So this is kind of it. I thought it was interesting to share this, so you can scan this and you can go to the website. Okay, so I want to stop here and maybe some questions or